Welcome to my $100,000 stock experiment, year 2, week 40, ending January 17, 2020. I'm going to change my YouTube channel name to The Melissa Method, so hopefully this doesn't screw any of you up. This isn't an endorsement to purchase any stocks that I bought, nor an endorsement to purchase stocks in general. I'm on a mission to become a great growth stock investor. Watch me on my journey, learn from my mistakes, and celebrate my successes. The S&P 500 index had a great week. It was up almost 2% or 64 points since last Friday. It's well above its 8-day and 13-day simple moving averages. Last week I was waiting for the Russell 2000 to get outside of this box where it was just going sideways. I wanted to see it get above 1680, and it did close the week at 1699. So it's looking good too, and that 8-day pink simple moving average there is accelerating higher than the green line. So this one is looking nice also. The VIX or volatility index closed at 1210 this week. I like to see it under 16 and really closer to 12. So it's down at 12 and it's actually gone below it a couple times this week. My plan last week was to sell anything that triggered a floor and practice my profit taking. I had identified CDW last week as something that I would consider selling, and I did decide to sell it and take my profit. And I also sold Lulu and took my profit. For my buys, I was looking for stocks with high volume and high relative strength and composite ratings. I did make 3 new purchase buys. I bought my CZZ back, which I was missing. I also bought Carlyle Group and Bill.com holdings. And then I made B2s in GPN and ZTS. It's not easy to sell stocks. You always wonder, are you doing the right thing? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? But I sold my CDW. I sold it on Monday, the 13th. And I'm especially happy with this since it tanked on Friday and dropped below where I had my floor. So I got a nice profit out of this. I held it for 16.5 weeks and it was up 16.1%. And then I had a B2 that I held for 10 weeks that was up 6.7%. I also sold Lulu. To me, it seemed like it was the right time to sell. It did have a nice volume day on Monday where that number 1 is, but then the stock just went sideways and it closed at the bottom of the range most of the days after Monday. The market was hitting new highs, but the stock was having down days. So I went ahead and I took my profit in this. I had a gain of 18.7%, which is awesome. I talk about acceleration, which is how quickly the stock goes up. That's when I want to be in stocks. So I have 2 charts here and I sort of color coded them so you can guess which one I think is better. But the stock at number 1, it went up 18% from its pivot in 67 days. The pivot point is where investors.com or MarketSmith and the IBD, where they identify those as areas where you should be buying the stock, the perfect point to buy the stock as they see it. The stock on the right at number 2, it went up 19% from the pivot in 25 days. So would you rather have one that goes up 18 or 19% in 25 days or 67 days? Can you guess which 2 stocks these are? The one on the left is Lulu, 18% from the pivot in 67 days. So I had a nice profit in it, but it took a long time to get there. The other stock is DIOD, which is still in my portfolio, 19% up from the pivot in 25 days. Now I don't have a 19% gain in it because it depends where I purchased it, but DIOD has much better acceleration than Lulu did. I made some changes to my sell rules this week. The items in green I added and the items in red I took away. My basic sell rules. Every time I buy a stock, I put a stop limit order, which I call the floor. And as soon as I buy it, I put it at 8%. It's easy to do. And then once a week, I evaluate the floor. I can move the floor up, but I don't ever move it back down. Well, never say never. The most common floor that I use was this 28-day, but I changed that after I took my screenshots to a 31-day. I have beginning stopped out of a couple of stocks, and I'm just going to give this 31-day exponential moving average a try and see if I like it better. The next one that I use is what was the 13-day, which I've now changed to the 16-day simple moving average. And I use that for the stocks that are moving up super quickly. Less often I use this 8-day simple moving average, but I like to have that on my chart so I can just see how the 8-day and the 13-day are moving against each other. I can use the 1% above the purchase price or 1% below the low on a gap up day, but I don't use those very often. And then I took out the two rules. The one, I was reducing my floor each week. I held the stock by 1%. So first week was 8%, next week was 7%, but I don't use that. I also took off the 50-day simple moving average. I basically manage two portfolios, the Melissa Method portfolio, where I don't use this 50-day simple moving average, and then my husband's 401k portfolio, where I do use this. So you need your rules to reflect the kind of portfolio you want and the kind of returns you want. So for the Melissa Method, we're taking that one off. Number 3, I consistently want my stocks to be gaining 1% a week. I used to say 0.5%, but in my heart, I really want it to be making at least 1% a week. And then I need to develop my rules for selling into strength. So I practiced that a little this week, but I don't really have concrete rules to follow. So as I develop those, I'll share them. Here's my current holding bar chart. Each bar represents 1 week. So AMD over on the left-hand side, I've held about 11 weeks. Compared with a GPN, which is in the purple, I've held that about 9 weeks. This compares my $10,000 B1 position. So you can compare how each stock is doing over time. So I'm really happy with the progress of DIOD, which is in the aqua in the middle. It's had a nice consistent gain up, and ZTS is also starting to make a nice move up. Then I look at each stock chart and I rank the individual stock charts in the order of the weakest to the strongest. It's not necessarily the one that's made me the most money, but how each stock chart looks this week. It was really hard to rank the stocks this week. I really liked my charts except for CZZ. So here's the charts in the order of the weakest to the strongest. So CZZ is my only loser stock. It did not beat the S&P 500 this week, and I do have a 1.5% loss in this stock. Down at number 1 in the volume section, you can see that average daily volume is decreasing. That purple line down there is showing you the average volume, and now that's going down. So that's a little bit of a concern. I did raise my floor up to the 28-day exponential moving average, that blue line, where the dotted yellow line is. That's where my floor is right now. This is a stock that sold last week. I had a really nice gain in it, and I decided I wanted it back. So hopefully it starts to increase and I don't sell it to put my money elsewhere. Fair Isaac Inc., symbol FICO. This is the only other stock that did not beat the S&P 500 this week. Number 1 is where I purchased it for the Melissa Method portfolio, but I had purchased it for my husband's portfolio at number 2 and number 3. So I do have it in both my portfolio and his portfolio. I've held this one for 1.5 weeks and it's up 1.5%. Cosmar, stock symbol CMRE. I've held this stock for 2 weeks and it's up 6.1%. I did raise my floor to the 28-day exponential moving average, but it's still below my purchase price. So if this triggered a floor, I would still take a loss in this stock. It had a super big gain on Monday and then has been going sideways. It was down for the last 3 days when the S&P was making new highs, but for the entire week it's up 5.7%, which is awesome. Colfax Corporation, stock symbol CFX. I've held this stock for just about 2 weeks and it's up 12.9%. This stock really hasn't done much yet, basically going sideways, but the price is above its 8-day and 16-day simple moving averages. Diodes, I think that's how you say it, stock symbol DIOD. I have two buys in this stock. One I've held just about 3 weeks and it's up 5%, and one I've held for a week and a half and it's up 2%. I did raise my floor up to the 28-day exponential moving average, and I am thinking about making a buy 3 in this stock. Inphi Corporation, stock symbol IPHI. I have one buy in this stock I've held for a week and a half and it's up 3.4%. I did raise my floor up to the 28-day exponential moving average, and I'm wondering if I should buy some more of this stock. Carlyle Group, stock symbol CG. This is a new purchase for me. I liked that it had this increased volume area. Down at number 1, you can see what the average volume looked like, and it had the little short bars. And now over at number 2, you can see those bars have gotten much taller, and that purple average line is also increasing. I found this stock on the MarketSmith screen of stocks up in volume. It had a nice composite rating of 89 and a relative strength of 95. And even though it was up on the day that I bought it, it did close down. So I bought it when it was up, but then it closed down. I am considering a B2 for this stock. I only have 2 stocks where the floor is above my purchase price, and AMD is one of them. I've held my B1 for 11 weeks and it's up 43%. Crazy. I've owned my B2 for just about 11 weeks and it's up 37%. And I've held my B3 for just about 8 weeks and it's up 29%. I did raise my floor up to the 28-day exponential moving average, and this stock is up 5.7% for the week, which is crazy. So right now this stock is looking great. It's above its 8-day simple moving average, and it looks like that 8-day is starting to move further away from that 16-day simple moving average as well. Bill.com. This is an IPO stock that I purchased this week. With IPO stocks, that large volume on the first day skews the rest of the volume chart. So this is a chart showing from the day it went IPO on December 12th to January 17th. But I'm going to look just at a 1-month chart so I don't have that number 1 big volume. So here's a 1-month chart for Bill.com. This showed up on my screen for an up day in volume. And I did purchase when it was at a new high, but then the stock dropped that day. Number 1, you can see that it did have nice volume. Luckily, the stock recovered 2 days later and does have a nice gain. I'm up 4% for the week for the 3 days that I've held it. The composite rating on this was low at 47, but it does have a relative strength of 87. And I just like to have an IPO stock in my portfolio. I haven't had one for a while, so we'll see how this goes. I did raise my floor up to that 16-day simple moving average. ZTS. I'm almost over my purchase price for this. My floor is pretty much right at my buy point. My floor is at the 28-day exponential moving average at 132.39, and I purchased my B1 at 132.72. So the floor is slightly below it. I have 2 buys in this. One I've held for 3.5 weeks and it's up 5.6%, and one I've held just 1 day and it's up 0.4%. I really like the volume in this, and the stock is just going up. It has 7 days of price increases, and it also has 6 of those are in volume. So I will think about purchasing some more of this as the next week unfolds. GPN. This is the stock that I thought had the best chart. It's showing nice acceleration with that pink 8-day simple moving average moving away from that 16-day. I did make a B2 on Friday, and I'm thinking about buying a B3. It had done nothing for so long. I've held it for my B1 for 9 weeks, and it's up just about 10%. And then my B2, I just held 1 day and it's up 0.6%. I did raise my floor to the 28-day exponential moving average, and I will consider making a B3 in this stock. So I made nice progress this week. I went up almost $5,000 from last week. I had $3,800 gain from my existing holdings, a $728 gain from my new purchases, and the stocks that I held last week and sold this week were up $329. At the end of week 40, year 2, my $100,000 has risen to $152,535 versus the S&P 500 rising to $125,348 for the same time period. Here's the weekly percentage change sorted with the losers on the top. The S&P 500 was up 1.97 for the week, almost 2%. So 2 of my stocks did not beat the S&P 500, and those are the 2 that I would consider selling if I would like to either buy a new stock or make an add-on position. And both of them are fairly new in my portfolio. CZZ, which is a repurchase of one that sold last week, and then FICO. This is the dollar value gain in each of my stocks for my B1 $10,000 purchase only. So CZZ, I have $148 loss in my $10,000 purchase, and CFX is my smallest gain at $93. AMD at the bottom, I have $4,322 gain on my $10,000 purchase. And then when I look at all my buys, my B1, my B2, and my B3, you can see AMD, the total dollar value gain on those 3 buys is $7,753. And then ZTS, DIOD, and GPN, I also have 2 buys in, and you can see that ZTS, I have a gain of $584, DIOD $677, and GPN $1,023. At the end of the week, January 17, 2020, you can see the S&P 500 is up 1.97% in the yellow versus the Melissa experiment up 3.32%. So yay, I beat the S&P this week. Excellent. And then my year-to-date in the purple for the S&P 500 is up 3.06% versus the Melissa experiment up 2.92%. So not quite beating it year-to-date, but getting close. The industry breakdown shows I'm most heavily concentrated in the chip sector. I have 3 buys in AMD and 2 buys in DIOD and 1 purchase in IPHI. Then I have second biggest concentration is in finance, where I have 2 buys in GPN and then a new purchase in Carlyle Group, followed by software, where I also have a new buy in Bill.com. My cash balance at the end of year 2, week 40, is $2,730, so not enough to do anything with. My likely sells, if something triggers a floor, it will sell. And I might sell something so I can buy something else. CZZ and FICO are my 2 weakest holdings right now, so if they don't perform in the upcoming week and I get the urge to add on to something or buy a new stock, then I will likely sell one of those. I don't think that I'll be practicing taking profit this week and selling into strength, because the rest of my stocks, I really like the way they're looking. For my buys, I want to focus on buying stocks that have above average volume with a high relative strength and a composite rating, and I created a MarketSmith screen for that I'll show you in a minute. And then there's 5 stocks I'm thinking of adding on to. DIOD, IFI, CG, ZTS, and GPN were all looking nice, and I would really like to buy back my NEO stock, which is performing well, and it sold a couple weeks ago. In MarketSmith, you can take their database of over 7,000 stocks and screen it based on specific criteria. So for my watch list, I took the MarketSmith screen that showed stocks that were up on volume, and then I added some of my own criteria, the relative strength and the composite rating. I'd initially put those at greater than or equal to 90, but I did change that to greater than or equal to 80. That pares the list down. For example, this one, it pared down to 15 stocks. And then each day I take a look at this screen that I've customized and look at those stock charts to see if there's any ones that I want to be purchasing. Thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for my next episode, or better yet, subscribe to my channel. I've renamed the channel The Melissa Method. Don't forget to hit the bell if you want an alert when I post a new episode.